Good morning. Time for another morning report, and I think I'll slide over here just a little bit. And anyway, just some brief news today, but we still have the ongoing verbal battle between London Mayor Sadiq Khan and President Trump, mostly taking place on Twitter, but Khan has requested that the British government withdraw their invitation to President Trump to come and visit. But that's not going to happen. The president has already accepted, and the Prime Minister Theresa May has, they've already said Boris Johnson, Home Secretary, they're not planning on doing any such thing. Also, we're still learning more about the London attackers and their radical roots, and also about the lives of those that died in the attacks over the weekend. And this is all leading up to, we're only 2 days away from the British elections. Polls have basically made this a dead heat race, though if you look at the numbers, you'll actually see that there is widespread support for Theresa May and her and the members of the other Tories, so that this could be a lot of nothing when it comes to the polls. There was a lot of concern in France about the possibility of Marine Le Pen winning there, but she lost badly in showing how far the polls were off. The same thing could be happening here. It's just that what people are telling the pollsters is one thing, but what's actually going to happen in the voting booth is something completely different. Will we or will we not get to a majority government? Will there be a hung parliament? Those are legitimate questions right now, but I think they'll be, based on some of this information, I think they'll be put quickly to rest. Also, Kellyanne Conway, this counselor to the president, her husband has criticized President Trump about his tweets and how much they undercut the Justice Department in their efforts to support him. And this is part and parcel, is that the president is a much more reserved tweeter than he used to be, but still not totally controllable in any way, shape, or form. He's going to do what he's going to do. He's going to be outspoken as a result of that, and that's just the reality as it is. Speaking of reality, a woman named Reality Winner has been arrested for allegedly leaking documents, and we'll see whether or not that holds up. But her history apparently is one that shows that not a Trump supporter by any stretch of the imagination, and would just as soon expose the president for what she thinks are his wrongdoings. So there may be some real validity to that. Democrats have now been publicly stating that they would like to see Hillary Clinton step back, not be in the limelight quite so much, the spotlight. She's damaging their chances of getting really recruiting support, other financial support, and they need that because they've got lots of bills to pay. The DNC does in particular, and not enough income right now to cover that. Also in the news, Orlando shooting, tragic workplace shooting. Former employer goes to his old job and then kills four of his coworkers before killing himself, and turns out to be a vet. So obviously they'll be looking at PTSD and talking to people to try to figure out what was going on with this person. So it's unfortunate that happened, and my prayers are to those families that lost a loved one, so tragically and unexpectedly. This is also the anniversary of D-Day, 73rd anniversary of the invasion of Normandy, something to reflect upon and think about. I have not been to that memorial, but maybe if I get another chance to go to Europe, I will pencil that in as something I need to do. Also, Apple kicked off their Worldwide Developers Conference, came out with several announcements, including the fact that there will be an Apple HomePod, a competitor to Alexa and to Google Home, as the third entrant. There'll be some loyalist Apple fanboys that will take this and will, will gladly use it. I've had an Alexa for, I don't know, less than a year. I think it's pretty good it's handy to have around. I don't use it that often. My wife likes to use it occasionally, but I can understand, when the grandkids come over, definitely something that can be useful to them as they grow up, maybe even useful for helping them find answers to homework. Who knows? Maybe not actually give them the actual answers, but point them in the right direction. But I'm sure they'll be happy to take any answers that they can get without having to do the work, because that's how kids tend to be. Though my grandchildren are far too young to quite get to that point of being so cynical. Bernie Sanders, in his 1% income, he got about $800,000 in royalties last year from his book, and kicked in with that with the other salaries remuneration that being given out, doing pretty well. I guess finally I'll say rest in peace to Peter Sallis. He died yesterday, and he was known as the voice of Wallace and Gromit. If you're not familiar with Wallace and Gromit, look it up. Great little cartoon, but done with more of like a claymation type of thing. Just very funny. There's some bunch of fairy tales out there, and I think definitely worth sharing with your children or grandchildren, should they be of that appropriate age for the kiddie books. All right, that's it for the morning report. Check back later on the page here for the Bias Buzz podcast. Should be up by the end of the evening. And make sure you check out the video we posted yesterday of our interview with Peter Kuhn, J20 disruptor radical, who has no love lost for President Trump, and talked about his plans and his plot and his hopes. Really good theater. So that's about it. So we'll see you later on this morning, or later on this afternoon, I guess, since you're watching on YouTube, and have the full version of the next podcast up and running. All right, thanks a lot. Have a great day. Stay safe.